Welcome to the Millennial Diner podcast. It's me, Jeff. I'm here at the diner with Phil, as usual, who will probably get his usual. We'll find out in a second, I'm sure. And today, this is super sick. We have Alex here today. Alex, welcome to the Millennial Diner.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Now, Alex, I know you're a born and raised Long Islander, so you understand the importance of where we're at right now and what the pressures of ordering the perfect diner meal are.
This
But
is a
don't
sacred
worry.
place.
Yes, very much so. Our waitress, Darla, who's is that a zipper on the back of your neck, Darla? It's weird. Anyway, don't mind that. Okay, Darla, you know what? I'm in a breakfasty mood today, so I want some vegan pancakes, side of a little tofu scramble. Make it the tall stack. I'm gonna go for all five. That's what we're gonna do here. Yeah. Some natural maple syrup and some blueberries on top of there. That sounds perfect. And a little coffee with oat milk.
You
Wash it
sound
all down.
famished. Famished.
I am famished. I am famished.
That's a healthy amount to eat. That is good.
Well,
No,
I
you
don't know.
gotta
I don't know
fuel
what my
up.
next.
Big conversation. Fuel
Yeah,
up
big.
for it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I don't know what I'm going to eat again. You know,
Well,
this. You know,
that's true. Yeah,
look,
take.
look. The geopolitical climate is upended right now. You know, who knows? Eat all the pancakes you can when you can. That's what I say. Enough about my doom and gloom. Alex, what are you going to get?
Darla, I will take an omelet with cheddar and bacon, rye toast with butter. For the home fries, burn them, please.
Ooh.
Very important. Burnt home fries and black tea.
Oh, I like this.
What's the significance with the burn home fries? You have piqued my interest with just
I want
one
a char.
adjective.
I want crispy.
Yeah.
I think a typical diner mistake is really chewy, flappy home fries.
I
Okay.
know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
Mhm.
and you're right. You got to scorch them to even get to near
If you
crispy.
think you're burning them too much, burn them more.
Yeah. You tell Maurice he's in the kitchen today.
Mhm.
Oh.
Maurice, we want the fire department here. That's what we're talking
Oh yeah.
about.
Oh yeah.
Huh. Chariness. Okay. All right. I think today I'm gonna have rye toast. But you know what, Jeff? I'm gonna have 3 slices of rye toast just
What?
because.
Mm.
Well, you said I should eat when I have the ability to do so. So 3 slices of rye toast with equal parts butter.
Okay. Okay.
Still only one black coffee though. That sounds good.
All right. Well, Darla's got the menu. I'm telling you, Phil. Doesn't it look like she has a zipper in the back of her neck
It
there?
there's like something glinting, yes, in the sunlight. I don't know what it is, but it is
No.
certainly something.
I don't know. We'll deal with that some other time because right now, Alex, you are here. I know you're excited because we're going to be talking about an album that we both love very much. So it actually came out while we were working together. So
It did.
yeah, very exciting times to go. We're not traveling that back. Usually we go back like 20 years with a lot of these albums.
Yeah.
One time this year we did last year's album, an album from last year. But this I also count in that category because we are taking an album that kicked off the 2020s really today. So and nothing weird happened in 2020, so should be a smooth ride. Um, but before we get into Phoebe Bridger's Punisher, which is the album we're covering today, we want to talk to you. You're a huge Phoebe Bridgers fan.
I am.
You're wearing an always shirt, so we're
From the
already
show
getting
we
a
went to.
from the
Yep.
show. Yes, that's right. Yeah, at the Hollywood Bowl. Um, so we're already getting a taste of kind of like your vibe of music. But I want to hear how it all came to be, like how it started and where you ended up, and like what were your kind of your like. Did you try different? At one point, did you try Metallica and you're just like not quite my thing, or did you try? Let's see how it all went.
I think Phoebe and Always are very indicative of my tastes. Um, and I think my musical confusion for my whole life has been defined by trying Metallica and liking it a little bit, and trying everything and liking it a little bit, and not knowing where that placed me.
Right.
And I think my musical experience was very much part of being an oldest child. And so, really, the only music I had access to growing up for a long time was my parents' CDs, a lot of classic rock, which is what I fell in love with first. But then, only hearing new music on the radio or at school with other kids who knew what it was and knew who these bands were and had relationships with them that I didn't, and that would excite me a lot, but I also didn't feel like I completely belonged there because I didn't have that prior knowledge. And I just remember feeling like I liked everything a little bit, but not knowing where that placed me. Like not having the confidence to present as part of any certain group. Like not having the confidence to present wearing black to school and
Right.
getting the emo cut and not having the confidence to, just go all in on pop music and feeling really ambivalent about everything, music especially, and not knowing where that placed me. And then as I grew up and technology improved and I was able to get into Spotify and everything and discover bands that I felt were presenting as ambivalent as I was a huge wake up call. And that's when I felt really especially seen by music, by people like Phoebe, and then going down a rabbit hole of everyone she ever opened for, everyone who ever opened for her. She has such a rich history of collaboration, which is something
Yep.
I feel like I'd only seen in hip hop before. And then just discovering all these other artists and singer-songwriters through her that maybe lean more emo punk scene at some points, but then at other times lean more indie pop or
Yep.
singer-songwriter or folk even, but sort of had this connective tissue of a little bit of ambivalence, a little bit of musical confusion themselves is where I have found my home, I feel like.
I think that works out in your favor though, because you got to experience a little bit of everything. And you
Absolutely.
and you
Absolutely. And I truly feel like I could have a great time at any kind of show. I
yeah.
really believe that.
No, I love that. I mean, Phil, maybe you could speak to this too. Like I definitely went through a moment of time, especially like my early teenage years or whatever, when it was like, oh, if it's not punk, I'm not listening to it. And I always feel like getting stuck in that is like it's cool because you feel like you're building an identity or something like that, but you're it's keeping you from like experiencing so much more stuff. And once I was able to get past that, I really felt like I got to where you started at, which is like, oh, I find something in everything I like.
It's funny though, because I was so jealous of kids like that. Because I felt like you have your home, you have your people, you know that you love this thing more than anything else. And I felt like I like this a lot, but I'm not certain that this is my home that I totally fit in, and I'm not certain if there's any home for me. So that would have been nice at 13 to have
Yeah.
felt that way. But I'm glad where everything ended up.
Yeah, no, you get where you need to go.
Yeah.
I remember going. I actually remember distinctly abandoning punk rock and emo for a while when it was in my mid 20s where I was like, you know what? Gotta try other things for a while. And I did. I went out looking for I went and found I don't even know who I found anymore. I found a lot of the like dancey rock bands. So like who am I
The
thinking
faint, the
of?
faint.
Yeah, like Franz Ferdinand
Oh yeah,
and
Hmm.
that kind of scene, the bravery and Kaiser Chiefs and a lot of those. Like I was trying to find this, still like this alternative environment, but like not other thing, like not the angriest of songs and angriest of that. And I kind of just went on a little tangent and I actually ended up feeling looking back now that I got lost for a while where I'm like, I don't have an identity anymore. I don't even know who I am anymore. And then that's when I naturally started working my way back to my roots of emo and punk rock. And that's where I find myself. And today, like today, it's still mostly what I listen to, although I have found I've embraced much more of a hardcore world. The older I've gotten, so I've gotten angry. I don't know, but like I've now really started to embrace like bands like Knock Loose and Drain and which are heavy sounding bands, but I still feel like there's a positive element to them.
yeah.
But you know, what are you gonna do? But yeah, so maybe I'm just this geopolitical environment we find ourselves in, Jeff. I have found that I'm getting angrier, and I need to listen to slightly heavier music. How about that?
No, I think that's it's all valid. That's the thing. Your musical taste journey. I think you're fortunate if you get out of childhood and you're still able to like find new things. Because I know there are a lot of people who never really kind of get out of what they liked in high school is kind of like where it peaks, right? Like they never really like and for whatever reason, like they find other things that like hit them, and then maybe they're just not music heads. But like most music heads tend to like it expands, right? And you're able to find all those different pieces. So you can find a band like LCD Sound System, Phil, that clearly is drawing on a punk roots,
Yeah.
but is a dance indie band. It's like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely, I felt it was funny. It's like it's almost like I wanted to like be I was trying to cognitively be less angry.
Hmm.
And that just didn't work because that's just the root my core root feeling it probably is anger and animosity. Which is
Well,
good.
Phil, you're
I
not angry. That's just your face.
That's just my face. Yes.
That is a part of a line from one of the songs we'll be covering today. Alex, you were in high school on Long Island. We'll just say a couple years after me and Phil. We don't have to get into actual statistics here. But what was kind of like at your school and your high school
Hmm.
when you were going there? What were the big music bands, artists who people were gravitating for the most? Like, were there like different factions that you saw? Like you said, you saw the punk kids, you saw the emo kids, but like what else did you
My
see?
my friends were very much the friends in my grade were very much the emo punk crowd, and Mayday parade was huge.
Yep.
And see, this is going to show I'm still so ignorant about a lot of it because I just felt like, who are these new bands that I'm hearing about? I mean, Fall Out Boy was huge.
Yeah.
Um, is Mariana's Trench, is that one? Is
Yep.
that ringing bells? Yeah, that was really huge. And then there was The Great Above Me, was very much, it felt like a hip hop crowd.
Yep.
And then there were kind of the big pop bands, and when Warped Tour would come to Long Island, that was a huge moment
Yes.
when they
Yeah.
would come to Jones Beach. So that I would say those were the three groups
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
that I enjoyed, and I enjoyed all three of them. But I didn't feel like there were a lot of other people who enjoyed all three of them.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of fit very cleanly into one family.
Was indie rock like a big thing that were or people hadn't quite got that? That's more
Not
of in
really.
college. Yeah.
There were some like senior year burnout, like kids who were first getting onto Radiohead, maybe.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of like cooler than everybody else. So there were roots of it, but not until college.
That makes
Not
sense.
until
I
college.
I feel like indie rock in general tends to kind of like grab you a little bit once you're out of high school. It has that kind of like feel to it because it has a lot of the elements of all the stuff you probably liked in high school, but it's like, oh, it's more
Yeah, and
intellectual.
just when we had Spotify and we're able to find it because
Yeah.
we didn't have that at the time, so it was really just who was playing nearby or who was on the radio.
Very cool. All right. Here's the scenario.
Hmm.
Some kind of giant animal, possibly a rabbit, possibly an alligator. I don't know. There was a mad scientist, a lab experiment went wrong. It grew to the size of Godzilla. So this rabbit, God, and crocodile. No, I said alligator. Whatever. It's a crocodile and an alligator. It's three of them. They show up at Mount Rushmore. They're disgusted by it. They're like, why is there no crocodile, alligators, and rabbit heads on this? So they just knock it over. But they don't. They're afraid of hard work. So they don't want to rebuild it. So they leave and go smash some other things. But now you have to rebuild it. But you get to put whoever you want on Mount Rushmore. Who are the four artists or bands that you would put on your Mount Rushmore?
This is a very cruel and unusual, but also inspiring exercise. To make it easier on myself, I went no current artists. I said
Okay.
I can only make a decision based on complete discographies.
Wow. Okay. This is
That's
cool.
I have
Yeah.
to set that rule for myself because I'd be very tempted to put someone like Phoebe on there, but I don't know what the next album's going to be. I just said I have to deal with known quantities here. So I went Beatles one because I'm a human being. I went my all-time favorite in Elliott Smith number two,
Good.
who
That's
I
good.
feel like was really kind of my entrance into a lot of my musical taste today.
Well, I definitely hold on to that because we're gonna get into that a little later.
Yep.
Yep.
More. Yep.
Um, Number three, I'm going to go Big Star.
Cool.
Number four, I really agonized. I could have gone a lot of different directions, but right now, in terms of my listening habits right now, I'm gonna go Jim Croce.
This is a heck of a list. I feel like we've had Beatles on the list before, but the rest of yours have not been mentioned by any of our guests, and they're all very interesting because they're all very different vibes for sure.
They are. I see. I still felt like it wasn't indicative of my wider and more eclectic music tastes, but I think that these are the most representative of kind of the heart of what I'm typically looking for.
I love it. I love it. Um, if you were to play a song off from one of these bands, an artist, and maybe you could pick an artist who's very influential to this very album.
Hmm.
But
No
totally up.
no,
No
no,
pressure.
yeah,
No
no pressure,
pressure.
no pressure
Which
whatsoever.
one could you be referring to? Which I
I don't
know
know.
she's the biggest Croce head ever.
Right.
Um,
And everyone likes
so
Big Star, so
yeah, everyone loves Big Star. So I have to go with a song that Phoebe also loves to cover, and I really recommend. I think it was a September pandemic YouTube clip of her covering the song and also introducing it with a very funny Conor Oberst story. But I'm going with Elliott Smith's "Whatever" folk song in C.
you got it. We're getting some Elliott Smith here. Here we go. Elliott Smith. I mean, we could take a beat here to talk about Elliott Smith because wow, what a songwriter. Um, yeah, I kind of like feel like I was aware of him for a while, and like I I think I always like loved Needle in the Hay because I was a huge
Mhm.
Royal Tenenbaums fan, and that scene just destroys me when that song is playing and what's happening in that scene. And then finally at one point I finally like was like, I just should really sit down and listen to this guy. And wow. Wow, wow, wow. How did you find Elliott Smith, Alex?
I would say probably through movies too. It's probably through Royal Tenenbaums and Good Will
Yeah.
Hunting. Um, and as sort of a sad boy, I felt very understood by him. But then when I went on a deep dive, I realized that he was that, but also a lot more. I have the Figure Eight album hanging up in my bedroom right here. And Son of Sam might be my all-time favorite song by him. And um, he was really, the more interviews I watched with him and the more I read up about him and his life and what inspired him to go into music, the more I became interested not only in artists who expressed maybe their sadness or ambivalence in similar ways, but also people who I think approach songwriting like him. Um, and he had such sort of an unpretentious mindset about writing music, but was also so brilliant and such a genius. And I'm not sure understood that about himself or fully recognized that about himself. And his ability to write the most beautiful, sad ballads you'll ever hear, and then
Yeah.
like genuinely really hard rocking songs like Son of Sam, but with the same exact thoughtfulness and sort of well observed lyricism. Just made me think I'd never heard anybody like this before. And somebody who in such a short time had such a wide and such a breadth of tracks, especially if I can't recommend enough, and I know Phoebe really promotes it, New Moon, his
Yep.
sort of unfinished tracks. That is my go-to album. I don't know what I want to listen to. Any mood, anytime, any place. That is my go-to album.
That's awesome. Phil, what's your history with Mr. Elliott Smith?
I got into Elliot with the Good Will Hunting soundtrack.
Mhm.
Because he is like half that soundtrack. But that was what got me into him. And executive producer Megan was also very much into Elliott Smith, which is also where I kind of got more of an appreciation for that. And it's like that was remember early. It's funny how we brought this out. Maybe I just subconsciously was doing it. Like I was like doing my little adventure into other things, not like punk rock and emo, is where I kind of got like Elliott Smith was another one I actually kind of got into. And that style, which is funny because I came late to the game in that point because he had basically, I think he had died by the time I finally was like, oh, hey, this guy. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm really like, yeah, I totally kind of I get into it. And it's funny, Alex, you said the thing about the sad boy music. I'm like, yeah, it's sad boy music, but like I don't know, there's some heart to it. Some I always appreciated the fact that he was very kind of upfront about his own struggles, which was great because at that point I feel like I was kind of struggling a lot, and to
Mhm.
hear someone else be kind of frank about it, it was great. Like you kind of said, like I kind of found someone else who could say what I was kind of feeling as well, and I can find a friend in that, which I think was useful at the time. So that is my history with Elliott Smith.
Yeah, no, I said it well. I mean, it's also interesting when I moved to Los Angeles and I ended up in the neighborhood of Los Feliz, Silver Lake, where he that was his haunts were there. He played Silver Lake Lounge a lot, and also the figure eight wall was not too far from my apartment, so it was always like a thrill to walk by it. You know, and
Yeah.
be like, hey, there it is. Uh, Recently though, a restaurant took over and messed it up, which is unfortunate. But my first my base of my first decade in LA was that was there, and it was always a nice like reminder of like, oh, yeah, this is Elliott Smith country here. And that Elliott Smith country will come into play more in a song as we go over the album Punisher, by Phoebe Bridgers. Punisher is the second album by Phoebe Bridgers. It was released on June 18th, 2020 on Dead Oceans, follow up to her 2017 debut album Stranger in the Alps. But between Stranger in the Alps and Punisher, she was quite busy. She did the first Boy Genius EP in that time, and she also teamed up with Connor Oberst to do the Better Oblivion Community Center leading up to this. So she's already, Alex, you mentioned, oh, you got it right there. There it is. Yeah, that's
Thank you,
the
Jeff.
that's the Better Oblivion Community Center stress house. It's like a stress ball, but a house. Which I was very lucky to be able to go see one of their first shows ever at the Terragram Ballroom in, I guess that was 2019. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Must have been.
yeah, that was 2019 because I saw them there. I saw them at the Wiltern, and somehow on a trip to Ireland, I saw them in Dublin, which was wild. Um, um, yeah, but in that time, we didn't know that Phoebe was going to be writing her sophomore album, and people say there's a term like the sophomore slump. This is the complete opposite of the sophomore slump. This is the sophomore grand slam, I would say. Uh, she just took everything that she did and I don't know, it's 100% her, and I definitely recognize the same songwriter and artist on her first album, but sound wise and just scope and just it's so personal, but it just feels like such a progression, a huge progression. I don't know Alex, if you felt the same way. You liked her for album first before this one, the Alps. You liked the Alps, then you heard this, and yeah. Do you want to just talk about how that was like to hear where she
Yeah,
went?
I mean, you said it better than I could, but I was obsessed with Alps, and especially Alps came out basically right when I moved to LA. And so to be in a very strange new place alone for the first time, that was really the perfect companion album to have. And so when this was announced, my first, I think probably my first instinct was terror. That how could she follow it up? I hope that she is everything that I want her to be. And like you said, it it was everything that I could have wanted and more. It's the perfect sophomore album. It is completely true and authentic to the person, to the artist that I fell in love with, but it is unquestionably an expansion in every way. It felt like giving the same authentic artist just more resources and seeing her make the absolute most of them. And there are a few songs that feel like they could have come right off of Alps,
Yep.
but there are many, many more songs that feel like she was given, you know, just double, triple the amount of tools and used all of them in a way that as a fan, I would hope that she would. And it just completely paid off in every single way.
Yeah, no, agree. Yes, yes to all that. You're saying it so perfectly. Um, Phil, had you listened to this album much before we decided to do this one?
No, this is going to be one of those buckets of things where I'm like, I did not listen to this until we got to the album, until we got to this, and so I am being introduced to Phoebe. Um, Which I'm going to admit, I don't think I understand her just yet. I really don't think I do. I think I have to go back and listen to Alps because I like listening to the album. I was like, okay, all right, okay. Like I start. It took me a few songs to get and kind of start figuring out what I think she's about, and then she changes up her style a little bit. I'm like, okay, so this is different. All right, so we're gonna try something else here. Okay, and like I think I see the roots a lot in that Connor Bright Eyes, Little World. I'm like, okay, so it's emo folk. Okay, I got where we're going with this. Okay, and yeah, I think it was definitely it is my introduction to her, and I will say I don't think I get it just yet, but I got to go back and listen to the other one, and like, okay, now I understand what's going on, like what she's all about. 'Cause it's whenever you get a brand new band, or and you're just like, okay, I need time to digest what I think this artist is about, and then we're gonna go from there.
Well, I'm excited to have your perspective then on all these songs because
I, hmm
I my knowing you, Phil, I would think the thing that really pops out for her is her writing and
yeah,
her
yeah.
yeah her imagery is specifically the way what she pulls out is pretty incredible. But we'll get there. This album was produced by her, Tony Berg, and Ethan Gruska. Um, what's interesting, again, we mentioned a little earlier, this album came out in June 2020. If you don't remember June 2020, you were probably at home, as we all were. Probably the worst time to put out the album that's either to make or break you, basically, because you can't play shows and people can't go out. I remember her posting like a picture of the album cover in Times Square, but there was like no one in Times Square, and she was just like, la la la, her big moment here. But it didn't phase her. In fact, I think that she navigated it really well. I mean, I remember she did a bunch of live stream shows. She did one at Red Rocks with her band, which is a dream come true to play Red Rocks, but there were no people there, so it was just live streamed. Um, so we'll get into a little bit more of that. But then by 2021, she got to properly tour, and the people came. The people came. Um, Part of also why we're covering her on this podcast is, I wouldn't categorize her as straight up like punk or emo in any way, but I can tell that she grew up listening to emo and punk for sure.
Most
Um,
definitely.
yeah, and of course we know that she was a huge Bright Eyes fan, which is part of what
Mhm.
connected her with Connor to do their side project. Connor has appeared on a song on her first album, and he appears on a song on this album. Um, but also just her aesthetic in general. Like the first album, Alps, there's a ghost in the cover. You know, I mean, you listen to her, it's definitely more moody indie rock sound, but like she hangs on to these like emo-ish elements. I mean, visually for this one, she wears the skeleton pajamas, and her whole band wears the skeleton pajamas, and that's the look for the whole thing. And to me, I'm like, oh, this. So yeah, Phoebe listened to the Black Parade. I get it. This is, there's a connection there, which I always loved about that. So yeah, she takes all that, and I think one of the funniest things is we had mentioned a long time ago on this podcast. The website is this band emo.com, and then you go to it, you put it in a band, and it tells you what they are, if they're emo or not. Phoebe Bridgers, I remember once tweeted that she went there, put in Phoebe Bridgers, and it came back and says Phoebe Bridgers is not an emo band, and she said this is fucking bullshit, is what she wrote. So she had a response. I always like that's the other thing about her. Again, you just hear her music, you're like, oh my god, this is like haunting and soft and sad. But then like her website is Phoebe fucking Bridgers like .com. She has this like dichotomy, like this attitude that's like so like I don't give a fuck, I don't do whatever I want. And also this like, but here's my heart on my sleeve, and I'm bleeding. My heart's bleeding for you as I sing these sad songs about my life. So I like that. I like that
It's the
duality.
same thing that I love so much about Elliott Smith. There's zero self-importance.
Yeah,
It is complete vulnerability and then being willing to take all the wind out of your own sails the very next moment.
perfect. Yeah, perfectly said. All right, well, we'll jump into the album. Um, this album, which doesn't happen enough, I feel like. We've covered some albums that do this. I think a Thursday's Full Collapse maybe is one, but having like a little ditty, a little instrumental piece, short to kind of set the tone. Um, I love that it's called DVD Menu is the first track to remind us of how when you put on your DVD, if you before you press the menu play button or you go behind for your special features, whatnot, there's some music playing over it, usually from the movie. So want to recreate that. You put that on, you're just like, okay. But it's definitely it's a moody track for sure.
It's a moody track, but like yet it totally sounds like a DVD menu song. Like I remember like listening to it, I'm like, yep, what chapter am I gonna pick? I'm gonna go to chapter 5 really quick, or I'm gonna go behind the scenes and watch the special. It just I listened to it, I was like, yeah, yeah, I totally could see like little images of like Phoebe coming up on screen, like being like heroic in a superhero costume, or like her skeleton costume, like going like hurrah, like the like, and that'd be really funny. But yeah, that was like the images I saw, so I was like, yeah, all right, DVD menu, okay, I see it, I
See,
get it.
see, Phil. Now I want this song on loop, and I just want the image of her flying through the sky in her Kyoto video, and that's just all it is. It's just like clips of that. Just
Just clips of the of all the music videos. I think that's absolutely perfect. I'm sure someone on YouTube has already worked on that. If not, YouTube, go get it. It's a nice segue into the first track. Like you almost don't catch it when it switches over to the
Mhm.
track one. It kind of just like goes whoop and right in.
no. I was gonna say I like it because it is the setting the table for the album, but it actually could just be a lead into the first song
Mhm.
completely. Yeah. And that first song is called, it's track two, it's called Garden Song. This was the first track she released, I remember, on Spotify before the album was coming out. Just kind of like, this is like the first new song. So definitely studied over and over when it came out, for sure. Uh, yeah, what do we think about this song?
Again, Alex, I'll defer to you.
Shocker, loved it. Um, it was sort of a great transition point between the two albums in that this is one that I felt was more similar to Alps,
Yeah,
um, both musically and lyrically. Um, and so I remember thinking she's still got it. This is, she's not going to be abandoning what I loved so much about it, but there's something different texturally going on. There's something different instrumentally going on here. I think DVD Menu was a great setter of expectations in terms of DVD Menu. It's a fun, little lead in, but it's like her and her band, they can jam when they want to, and that will
yeah,
come up later on, and it comes up in Garden Song. Like if they want to settle into a little bit of a jam, this is not just one person finger picking in the back on loop in the background. This is a full, um, I don't want to say orchestral vision, but there are a lot of moving parts here, even in songs that are quote unquote as simple maybe as Garden Song.
yeah. I think that's 100% right, and I think you're absolutely right. Like this song sets you up to let you know, like, oh, I think at her core, she started off as like an acoustic
Mm-hmm.
singer-songwriter, right? And that is the core of all the songs on Alps. You definitely know that she wrote them with her guitar by herself, and then she brought a band in. This one
Yeah.
is like exactly. This was built to be played by this band. There's a lot going on here. I feel like you have this like deep voice for who's done by this her tour manager, Jerome Bijov, I think his name is. I'm maybe saying it wrong, but when I heard that, I was like, oh, is that Matt from the National at first? Because it very emulating that very deep like
Yeah.
tenor like sound. But like whenever you put that underneath hers, it just adds to this kind of like there's just like while this especially sorry, I'll stop that. Let me step back here. This is like a very nostalgic song for I feel like it's really talking about her growing up, and when you add that tone, that other voice, there's a dread here. And there's so many things you can take out of that. Like, is it the dread of like growing up? Is it the dread of like, oh, I've lost this place I can't go back to anymore? It's all these like subconscious feelings that start coming up just by how they constructed the music. Um, but yeah, the other thing too, and Phoebe has said this, and we know this from her songs. She writes songs from such a personal place. Like she's not in her I'm writing character phase at this point, right? She's mining her experience and stuff, and knowing that she's from Pasadena, is where she grew
Mhm.
up. this song is like the most Pasadena song there is because one of the things that's most lovely about Pasadena and people love and it's people visit all the time is there's the Huntington Gardens, which is this incredible collection of like cacti gardens, Japanese gardens, rose garden. It's just this incredible place that it's this huge property. It's like this huge castle looking house and just all these amazing gardens that you can go and just like spend your day wandering. So that's clearly when we hear the title of the song Garden Song, I feel like we're really talking about this place that I've been to and I get very excited now when I have like lyrics to go along with it.
Great spot. Highly recommend.
Yeah,
Love it. But it's funny. It's so tempting because there's information about her and where she grew up. It is so tempting for me to take every single lyric completely literally. Like,
right.
did she have a skinhead neighbor? Where does she end and where does the music begin? If there is a partition like that, is this an exaggerated version of her life, or is this exactly what was happening to her? It's so hard not to, because we know where her writing comes from. It's so hard not to take everything very literally, which is a very unfair expectation. Which is a very unfair expectation for me to put on her. But that maybe is the curse of this new generation of artists who we know everything about how they grew up.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like there's another song coming up where specifically I was like, what if or a couple songs where like, what if I didn't know this about
Yeah,
this song? And so Phil, I'm really excited to hear your interpretations of things because so many like for this song, I'm like, I know what the Huntington Gardens is.
right.
Yeah.
I understand that she's from Pasadena. And then the next song, I know who that song's about because I heard her talk about it, and now it's all I hear when I hear it, and it keeps going. It's weird to know what their songs are about and yeah, as you said, Alex, we're just like, is it metaphor or is it, literal? Like, I mean, I always give her obviously it's creative. So, like, and this song in itself is very dreamy. Like, I feel like there is a dream. This whole song feels like a dream. Like, because, like, Phil, I'm going to ask you in a second, but I just want one of my favorite lines on the album is, and when I grow up, I'm going to look up from my phone and see my life. I just, how many of
See,
us are just missing out on our lives because our faces in our phone?
see, so this song's a vibe.
Yeah,
I'm gonna even go one step further. Side A is a vibe. The whole thing's a vibe. And with this one, it's funny to hear you guys talk about it because you guys know and I don't. And so I'm like, okay, I kind of read it similarly. I didn't know the specifics. Like I knew Huntington v. Huntington was a thing because, well, one, lyrically, it's an uppercase 8, like it's a proper noun. So I was like, okay, it's a place. Got it. Okay. And then being from Long Island, I'm like, Huntington, New York. Maybe that's a
yeah.
thing. Maybe that's what it is, but maybe it's not. But that's fine. It's a place, right? And so I put it together. I will agree with you, Jeff. It is a very surreal, dreamy song. Like I feel like it's a mishmash of dream. Well, she talks about dreams anyway, but like
Yeah.
I feel like it's a mishmash of kind of dreams that kind of got mushed together into a thing. But I think that matters because of Jeff, the line you just said that one of these, like, she's gonna look up from her phone and see that there's yeah, when I grow up, I'm gonna look up from my phone and see my life. Like this is, I think, a song about how quick growing up happens, if that makes sense, and like that you don't even kind of realize that you're like, oh, I'm an adult all of a sudden, and you kind of, not that you miss things, you don't take the moment to enjoy it like she does when she goes to the Huntington Garden, right? Because you just kind of walk around, like everybody's got that secret place you want to go to where like you can just not, right? And just kind of be whatever you want to be and just kind of take in a moment. And I think that's kind of, I feel like that's where this song's kind of going, that it's more, it's about just having that place to go to and where you can just walk around and enjoy things live, like as it happens versus maybe like on the phone later on. Cause like we always watch everybody's like TikTok videos, Instagrams, and just watching someone else's life happen. And then by going to the garden, she gets to enjoy her life happen and actually take time to enjoy it. Did
Well,
that make sense?
No, it did, and I love all
Okay.
that, and also because when we're recording this, I spent most of the week looking at other people's totality of the eclipse videos on TikTok. That's fine, um, instead of experiencing it myself. But that also what's interesting about that is she goes back to this place, and it's at this place where she can kind of see things because
Mm.
this chorus part. I don't know when you got taller, see our reflection in the water off the bridge of the Huntington. So to me, that's her look back at the Huntington, looking over this bridge at the water down below, and realizing, oh my God, you grew up. Like, how did we, whoever this is, whether it's a sibling or a friend or whatever, it's like, oh, we're back here. This is kind of like our place where we go and we live in the moment. And when did we grow up? When did that happen?
Yeah, I
It
think that's
just
what's special to me about the song is that I think a lot of other artists would be tempting to go full nostalgic and sing the praises of this place that was her safe place and how it was always this wonderful, perfect home. But like you said, Jeff, I was searching for the words of, I was juggling unsettling or eerie or uncanny through this week, but the word you used is perfect, is dread.
Mhm.
And that is completely present when she's singing about the Huntington too. And it's even that her place, what used to be her place, can't shield her from, the process of growing up too. And it's while she's at the Huntington that she's having this realization that she's not the same person that she was before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it builds to this kind of like journey of realization too, because when we go back to the chorus, it's now, I don't know how, but I'm taller
Mm-hmm.
and everything's growing in our garden. So everything's changing growing up. You don't have to know that it's haunted. So all this past is always going to be with her. And then my other favorite line of the song is the doctor put her hands over my liver. She told me my resentment's getting smaller.
Smaller.
I mean, so that's like these ghosts of the past, all this stuff that's been kind of like it's been hard to deal with. She's learning that like, oh, as I go through this life, I'm getting things I want. Like I'm moving towards something maybe better, but I still have this place.
It's relatable in terms of so much of it is external. It's so much of it is unconscious that she's not in real time necessarily reflecting on the growth that she's making. She's not working on her resentment. She's not noticing her physical growth.
Right.
These are all things that are presented to her. The water is reminding her you've grown. The doctor is telling her your resentment has grown smaller, which I think is, at least for me, how I experience growth and change. It's not something that I'm necessarily actively tracking, but there are
Right.
these sort of keynote moments when you realize, oh, I've changed a lot,
Yeah.
and I can't take that back for better or for worse.
100%. It makes me think of in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. When he gets his extra life, he learns. He's like, I think I learned something.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Bro, we don't have that. It's someone has to point it out to you. Be like, don't you see the difference in yourself now? Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're not the kid you once were. Like, look at you. You're like,
And that's
we're
a
all
scary thing. Even
yeah.
when it's something good, like, oh, you're less resentful now. It's a scary thing to think that that's not an active choice sometimes.
Yeah. It's good. That's a really great point.
That's a good point. Really good point.
Well, Phil, I'm gonna make an active choice to play this song. Here is the first song, track two on Punisher, Garden Song. Track three is Kyoto. This was the second single, and I think in a lot of ways probably one of her biggest singles. I
Yeah.
imagine because I feel like the the dread of the previous song is gone. Even though when we love this, we love when the music is happy, and then we look at the lyrics, we're like, wait a second, this isn't a happy song. But uh, yeah, this one has kind of like this like indie like I don't know. There's like I don't know. How would you describe this like feeling? It's a
It felt to me like a big crossover potential single.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
don't have to be, the sad boy fan to dig this song. This is a song that I could have expected on the radio or like at a sporting event or some place that it really was not intended for, but we'll take the fans whenever we can get them. This is the place that I mean this felt like it could have been the breakthrough single, like the mainstream big hit single to me when I first heard it.
It always reminded me of like, you have the band The Cure, where you have like these really dark, foreboding, depressing songs, but then you'll have like Just Like Heaven or something like that. Like
Yeah,
has
yeah,
that danciness to it, and I think this song has that kind of DNA to it for sure.
I feel like,
most
Jeff,
definitely.
this is a Bret Easton Ellis short story that got made into a Phoebe Bridgers song. Like, I just every listening to it, I was like, okay, all right, and then going through the lyrics, I'm like, this is like, I feel like this is what's missing from the Informers, the book, the short story book, is that this can be written out as a short story. I also love Kyoto as a name, because Bad Religion has a song about Kyoto now, and I first thing I was like, oh hey, it's like Bad Religion. That's always nice. This I have to admit though, I made a really big connection with this song toward the end, because lyrically, she and I connect, because she says, "I don't forgive you, but please don't hold me to it. Born under Scorpio skies." And I was like, I too was born under a Scorpio sky, and I don't forgive people very easily. No, I too hold grudges.
Grudge Master has returned to the
Grudge
podcast.
Masters return. Yes, it has. I held grudges. I still hold grudges. I've from people from 20 years ago. Yeah, maybe I should learn to let it go. I should probably, but no. Still gonna I'm gonna remember the thing you did to me back in college, and I'll be like, bro, I remember when you did X, Y, and Z, and I still hold on to it.
Well, Phil, holding a grudge is obviously a very negative feeling.
Yep.
Not the best feeling in the world to have hold a grudge, but when you hear the music of this song where it kicks off, do you think this is going to be a song about a grudge she's holding against
No,
somebody for her whole life?
absolutely not. You're kind of like, oh, this is the adventure we're gonna go on with. It's a really good point you made about the Cure, and like, I'm gonna, or I'll bring in like the Smiths,
Yeah.
where like like how it sounds like Puppy Dogs in the Sunshine. How it reads is like, oh, this is like nasty stuff. What are we doing here? This is scary stuff. Yeah.
Uh, Again, coming back to like what this song, I mean, we can go over some of there's just some amazing lyrics. First of all, I love the intro of this song so much. Like this, like day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple, looked around to 7-Eleven. The band took the speed train, went to the arcade. I wanted to go, but I didn't. Like that is having gone to Kyoto and thinking about this song while I was there. I was like, I also got bored at looking at the temples. I also went to 7-Eleven to get my tofu sticks, and I also took the speed train to go to the arcade. So I was like, oh, this is the Kyoto experience. But it's like it sounds fun. Like day of Kyoto, we're gonna go to temples, we're gonna have fun. But then it's like I didn't go, but I wanted to go, but I didn't. And then she kind of changes what she's like kind of struggling with in the song. Now, again, Alex, I'm sure you know who this song's about based on your readings and interviews with Phoebe. But this is, and I'm curious, Phil, where you got out of it. But like, she has said this is a song about her dad.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had read about that. It's a song about her
yeah,
dad. Yeah.
and it clearly what has not been the healthiest of relationships, and which comes out, and it's like she has a lot of these moments where she like says these very truthful things, like you called a payphone to tell me you're getting sober, and you wrote me a letter, but I don't have to read it. So has she gotten this phone call before in the past? Has she been saying I'm getting
Right.
sober? Yeah, I'm sure this is not the first time she's heard this. And then it goes into this chorus with this line, "I'm gonna kill you if you don't beat me to it,"
Right.
which is like, oh wow, this is a tricky situation.
Yeah. Not a lot of good stuff's happening here. Because and then like the even when the sunset's been a freak show on the weekend, but like, so she's driving out the suburbs to the park with the little brother, and he said you called on his birthday. You were off by like 10 days, which I'm like, but at least he called. He was a little
Yeah,
off. It's like he's trying. He's trying. Like, give him some time.
And despite the seriousness of what she's talking about, I still think that there's a playful, like an unmistakable playfulness to everything. Like I almost view that you're off by like 10 days as almost a joking aside.
yeah,
Right.
And when she's
Yeah.
talking about the payphone, she has again, yeah, they still have payphones. Um,
right.
so what I constantly pictured was the video from the first first album. Was it Motion Sickness? Was it Scott Street?
Yeah,
On the
with the bike.
scooter.
Yeah, the scooter.
Oh,
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
I pictured a very similar tone visually when I was listening to this. Could be talking about the heaviest stuff, but this is also someone who's trying to be spontaneous, trying to be a fun young person, see kind of the absurdity of everything. Um, and so I couldn't view it in my typical sad boy lens. Like I can't not smile despite what she's talking about.
Yeah, no, she always. I think just seeing her in interviews too. Like she uses humor to undercut things all
Yeah,
the time, and she's very funny.
very funny.
And yeah, I definitely feel that too. But and like there is, and I both of you were saying if there is positives here, whether it's the
Mhm.
asides that she's saying, like even like you were off by like 10 days missing his birthday, but you get a few points for trying, you know.
Right.
All right, all
Right.
right. And then also this idea of like, oh, you got the truck fixed, and when you let us drive it, 25 felt like flying. And to me, I was like, oh, and the way she says that too, it's like, this has been a hard situation with you and how our relationship has been, but like I still have these feelings of like, oh, you let me drive the car for the first time. Like
Yeah.
this kind of like a really positive feeling that she still has.
And
Um,
what better way is there to analyze father-child dynamics than um, you know, someone who can cause a lot of damage, but someone who also can provide so much warmth and silly experiences and fun, and how those two can be so close to each other, especially with fathers who probably don't talk necessarily about exactly what they're going through, um, and can substitute maybe the pain they cause, can follow up the pain they cause with joy to try to make up for it.
yeah, very much so true. And then the other side of it too, going back to like the chorus, which Phil you had mentioned earlier about the Scorpio skies, and there's this line here that I just like. It just this is the one that gets me the most. Like I wanted to see the world through your eyes until it happened. Then I
Mhm.
changed my mind. Like you understand that you look up to your parent, you're like, I want to be just like them, and she's kind of to me, she's kind of saying like, oh, I am kind of like you.
Definitely.
Yeah, right.
Definitely.
And that's maybe this is not a good idea. And I thought it's what I wanted. Now that I'm here, I made a mistake. I lied, right? I'm a liar.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of realization for like the last song is a lot about kind of realization. This song is a lot about realization. That's what I mean. Like I feel like side A collectively has this vibey awareness awakening kind of thing to it. That's very descriptive, I know. But that's kind of like what I get particularly with the first side of it. But yeah. Okay.
Right. Well, I think we should play Kyoto. All right, the next track 4, is the third song, and it's called Punisher. It is the titular song that names the album. Not about Frank Castle, you
Oh,
know.
see, I was certain it was about Frank Castle. I mean, it's all right. Okay, sorry.
Well, you saw the skeleton, you're like, oh, is she gonna throw on the Punisher shirt and walk around with the skull and like, make things more dangerous for Spider-Man and Daredevil out there? I don't know. But no, we don't get that from her. But we do have Punisher, and we need to talk about the word Punisher. I
It's
never knew the word Punisher, which is insane because I've listened to music my entire life and have punished many musicians myself in my days, not realizing what I was doing was a thing. So,
I
did you look up what a Punisher is, Bill?
I did look up what a Punisher is. It is an overzealous fan. The vibe that they would get is basically you hang out by the merch table just a little too long. Time to move on. And I also did not realize I was a Punisher. I might have been a Punisher for the movie life numerous times. I might have been a Punisher for Take It Back Sunday at one point. Maybe even not gonna true. I'm just like, hey guys, just vibing next to you, Vinny. How's it going? Yeah.
I have punished all the bands you mentioned. I offered to help New Found Glory load their drums once. Like, you know,
You guys, like I got nothing to do. I'll hang out. When you yeah. I didn't
I
know. But why is it Punisher? Like, is the artist being punished for?
yeah,
Is that basically what it is? Okay,
I
all
think
right,
it's the
okay.
artist being punished for putting themselves out there and sharing their work with the world. Now they have to listen to this nerd.
See, I can see that making sense because I do have a day job. I work, and whenever you take vacation, you come back. I have a mountain of email, and I usually say, well, that's my punishment for taking time off. Is I have to get through like 500 emails in the next 4 days to figure out what the hell happened to me the last week I was out. So I kind of can see where it's what you get. Sorry, you put yourself out there. Now you'll be punished forever to have creepy Phil standing next to you trying to ask you a question about a song that you don't care about talking about. All right.
Alex, have you ever punished any artists?
Fortunately, no. I actually don't think I have. I think I probably have a fear of meeting my heroes.
Yeah,
Mm,
So I'm just in and out. But secretly, I'm like, oh, they'll see how much I don't care and
right.
how much I'm a normal person.
right.
And then
Yeah.
they'll want to hang out.
Then they'll punish you.
Then
They'll
they'll
punish
punish
you.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. That's like reverse punishment. That's really nice. I like
Hmm.
that.
But yeah, so we have a song called Punisher. And now we know what it's about. Um, again, I'm very curious how you think about this song, Phil. I mean, again, I only know this song as the song about Elliott Smith. Like I knew
Yeah.
it before I even heard it. Like, so that was the key to me. It was like, oh, she is punishing Elliott Smith, but obviously he's passed away in 2003. So she's punishing him through song because of how important his music is to her. He's her musical hero, and this song is basically kind of like the only way she can punish him is through this song. Um, and we get so many little details, kind of like about her life in I imagine, the Silver Lake area where Elliott Smith frequented, going to the bar, hearing stories about him, driving past the house where you lived with Snow White, which again, if you know what she's talking about, which I do, is there are these one bedroom apartments that are by a supermarket called Gelson's in Silver Lake. The supermarket is where the first big Disney animation studio was.
Oh.
And the houses that look like Snow White houses were actually places for the animators to live.
Huh.
So if you see it, they have a very distinct, like Seven Dwarfs kind of style architecture. But obviously the supermarket now it's not there, but those apartments remain. So when I heard that, I was like, I wonder if that's what it is. And of course, it didn't take long to find an interview where she says, "Yeah, that's what she's talking about," because Elliott Smith apparently lived there at one point.
Very, very strange.
Isn't it?
Yeah, well, what a weird remembrance. Like I'm gonna go work in the Disney animation. They go my little Snow White. My it's weird, very weird.
Phil, you've
Yeah.
actually seen them. They're in Mulholland Drive.
Oh, have I?
Yeah, when they go looking for
Oh,
that other woman and they find her body,
yeah.
that's in those apartments.
Very strange. What a surreal
Yeah.
little thing to bring into this. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Anyway, no, I had no idea. Like I after like I listened to it, I was like, this sounds creepy. Like you sound like a creepy creep, like hanging out outside. What was it? Like I'm outside your house, and the house where I walk right by your house. I'm like, what are you? This is like what is that the song by the Cars? Drive. Like who's gonna drive you home? I felt like kind of creeped out by that. Like I was like, this is kind of creepy. I like, but like there's like a weird But then learning about Elliott Smith, I look back and I'm like, okay, so we're basically homaging him to death in this. It's gonna be like it sounds like an Elliott Smith song. And it's got the feel of it. It's just talking about him, and I'm like, okay, I get you now. I see what you're doing. Okay, I understand now. Still kind of creepy. Don't be creepy, but it's okay. I get you.
well, I think she knows that too, and because the
Oh,
chorus is,
yeah,
"What if I told you I feel like I know you?" Which,
Right.
if you said that to somebody, that is super creepy,
super creepy. Like,
right? Yeah,
no,
yeah, like
no,
whoa, 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 yeah, step away. But we never met. It's for the best. I think that she is owning up to that, right? Like
yeah,
Hmm.
this
yeah.
is the best. This is the best for both of us is that we never actually could meet.
Right. It is both sides because she doesn't get to creep him out. But also, what if he let her down?
Right.
Was what you
100%.
said. Never meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes. It's kind of unless you meet Vinny from Movie Life. He's a very nice man. But like I kind of I get that vibe. I've met I won't name names, but I've met people and they'll be like, "Wow, you are a letdown." I see. Okay. All right.
Jeez, Phil, I didn't know you were talking about the first time you met me today,
I
but
mean, seriously, Jeff, I really
harsh,
I expect better.
harsh.
But like no, but I think it's true though. Like you meet somebody, you kind of have this expectation of what they might be like, and then you're like, oh, you're not like that. Or 100% they're like, oh, you're really like that, and like to almost like a scary level. So like, yeah, I get, I appreciate that she's looking like it's best we didn't. It's probably a smart thing that we never did meet. So I get it.
And imagine the gravity too of the stakes of I think about the people I worship. Like I worship Elliott Smith. He's not from Long Island.
Right.
Mm-mm.
I'd never had the opportunity to grow up the way that he did or see the places where he lived. But for her, this is a same, if not more intense love. Plus, he lived where she grew up. Quick drive away. And what that must have been like, and what it must have been like if he didn't die, you know, that it's completely plausible they would have met.
Of course, no, they absolutely. Well, then, yeah, they absolutely would have, right? Like,
Yeah,
she would have opened for him at some point,
right.
or early on, and then I'm sure now he'd be opening for her. It's like,
Yeah, so it's this whole other level of hero worship and fandom that none of the rest of us have access to. Even if we were musicians too, this is a one of one scenario. Someone who grew up in this, he's not from here, but sort of made a home of the same place. So I can't imagine the intensity of those kind of feelings.
yeah, 100%. Um, I also like love what she does again with her songwriting. I mean, we didn't talk about too much of the first two, but this one, like, again, like she's she's setting the mood with these evocative images. Like, if you don't know about the Snow White cottages, you're just like in the house where you live with Snow White. I wonder if she ever thought the storybook tiles on the roof were too much. Like, you don't know about that. Like, that's just such an interesting thing to think about. Like, why is he living
Mhm.
with Snow White? Like, what is how do you unpack that? The drugstores are open all night. The only reason I moved to the east side, I love a good place to hide in plain sight. Like, it's just like there's so much to unpack there. It's like which drugstores are open all night? Like, what does that mean? Like, um on the east side they're open all night. Because I imagine she's talking about the east side of LA, but like the drugstores aren't necessarily open all night here. Like, I don't know, you know, it's an interesting way to describe it. But the I love a good place to hide in plain sight. That's what happens. It's very much a New York vibe over here. It's like New York City. Like, if you're a celebrity, you can just kind of be out because no one's gonna notice you because you look like every other hipster or whatever.
I also like the shade on Dianetics.
Yes.
Do you remember those
Mhm.
commercials like as a kid? Like the it was always like a volcano erupting or something like that. It was like spewing out. I feel like it was like spewing out lava or some form, and like Dianetics was a thing that would come up on the screen. And I just remember, what the hell is this creepy thing? But yeah, I just bringing up some random L. Ron Hubbard thing out of nowhere.
Well,
And I love the
it's
shade, but like, it looks, it was too much, but from the window, it's not a bad show if your favorite thing is Dianetics or stucco.
right. Well, you
Like,
got all the ceilings are stucco,
uh,
uh, and then Dianetics. I mean, this area that she's singing about, there is a huge Scientology center
ah,
around here. So,
see, I just thought it was like some shade on a pseudoscience like Dianetics that there was
but
some
it
strange.
but it could be right. Like,
Yeah,
that's what's again. You don't need to know what it's actually about to get a response to this song. It's interesting to hear that. You know, this here, everyone knows you're the way to my heart. Everyone knows how much she loves Elliott Smith. So I'm sure people who knew him are always happy to come up to her at the bar and oh, this one time Elliott did this, or this one time he did this. Uh, he was often at the bar, most times alone, some looking your worst, but never not sweet to the trust funds and punishers. So
right.
to me, that's what her hearing that no matter how, you know, whether it was his mental health or I don't know if he had addiction issues or things like that, whatever it was, no matter how bad time he was going through, he was kind to the rich kids who were there, as well as the punishers so she feels like he would have been nice to her if she had met him at the bar.
We gonna play this one?
Of course we are. It's a titular track. Here is Punisher off Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers. All right. Our next song Track 5 is called Halloween.
We're doing the Misfits now. This is exciting. Here we go.
Basically, the Misfits Halloween song.
It's basically the same thing. I mean, it's just the West Coast version of it.
uh not the Halloween song I'm sure you've heard before. It's a very different vibe for a Halloween song.
It feels like the West Coast version of a Halloween, like what Halloween is out there. Because I'm used to Halloween being kind of like, well, for New Hampshire, Halloween's fucking cold. I'm not gonna lie, it is. The poor kids got to wear like full length sleeve costumes and all that just to stay warm because it gets cold over here. But I feel like there's a warmth. It's funny. It's one of those songs. I feel like there's a warmth to the song, but then lyrically you're like, this is scary because we're talking about people getting murdered down at Dodger Stadium. And what's going on at Dodger Stadium where people getting murdered? What is that about?
Well, we could start there.
Let's start there. Can we answer that question
yes,
first?
I
Who's
will
getting
answer.
murdered?
Okay, watch this because I'm going to bring in Long Island to this and songwriting and then come
all right.
back here.
Okay.
There have been 2 times in my life where I heard of a horrible thing on the news that shook me.
Okay.
One was on Long Island, I want to say probably like 2006-ish.
Yeah.
There was this horrible story about a limousine from a wedding with a little girl, a flower girl in the car, and a drunk driver got on the wrong way in the parkway and crashed into them, killing them.
Yeah. A certain man may have written a certain song about that. Yeah.
Yeah. A band called Brand New did have a song called Limousine, and it was about that. So when I heard that song the first time, I was like, oh, yeah, that story messed me up too. So I understand why that would be something you would want to like explore in a song. Then I live in LA, and this was a few years back. I heard about a San Francisco Giants fan from San Francisco came down to Dodger Stadium just to watch his Giants, and ended up getting attacked and beaten to death by some Dodger fans, which was terrifying. That you could go to a baseball game, which is supposed to be just kind of like a fun excursion, and it could lead to you being killed. So I'm always interested in about that is like having this shared experience with some of the artists and having it affect them as much. The fact that it eventually shows up in a song to illustrate something, because clearly it's something that bothered her for a long time. Anyway, that's the background.
And it's her hometown, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. One of the first things, first few months into living in LA, I remember I think I was gonna go to my first Dodgers game. My dad was like, "Don't wear your Mets hat there."
Yeah.
Like, well, it's been time, and don't you really, it's a tourist town. I'm sure lots of other people. And he was like, I really don't want you to wear your Mets hat there. And then, imagine seeing the same thing, but it actually being your hometown, quote unquote, your people who perpetrated that.
Yeah. No, it's terrifying. And it's demoralizing too to know that it's your home, like you're saying. But ultimately, for me, I think it's so interesting because like to put that evocative imagery in here, and all like you said, Phil, like you're like, what is this about? Like,
yeah.
Again, to me, this is kind of a love song to me, but like kind of like a little bit of a psychological damaging love song because we're finding out that these people there's a struggle here. You've been drinking and you're wearing a mask, like you need to like change who you are, you need to hide who you are. There's a lot of talk about masks in this because of the Halloween. We could be anything. So come on, man, let's be anything. Like, is this her trying to get her partner out of depression? Is this her partner trying to get her partner out of addiction? Like, it seems like she's trying to like help this person, and it's not going well.
That's
listening through. Oh, you go ahead, Phil.
You go, Alex. You go.
I was gonna make a pivot. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just with this one, how'd you know I wasn't gonna make a pivot? I mean, that's so presumptuous of you, Alex. But this song, it's funny. I took it slightly different. I feel like it's a love song, but it's like it's a dying relationship, right? Insofar that like I don't know, like we can be anything. You could be anything, or we could be anything.
We can.
we could be anything and I'll be whatever you want. Like, I feel like it's an awareness that this relationship is supposed to be good, like a baseball game, but it's ending up very badly. Like this is about to get murdered, which again, just really shocking to even hear. But anyway, that it's like she's aware that the relationship is going south and is trying to salvage it. And like, yeah, we can just pretend it. I mean, I don't know if it is actually Halloween, but we can pretend it's Halloween. That you can put on the mask and be who you want to be. Um, but then again, also like I like what you just said though, Jeff, about coming out of depression, because sometimes like I've had bouts of depression over my life, and I've always it for me what has worked is like you got to kind of for me what worked was like going out there, putting on the face, and trying to I guess fake it till you make it kind of thing, and just like to realize it's an ebb and flow. For me, depression is an ebb and flow. It comes and goes, which is fine for me, and I've learned to work with that. But I feel like maybe that's like what you get, like put on the mask. We could be whoever we want to be. Maybe we could be a happy couple, and then maybe in the end we could become that happy couple, given time. All right, Alex,
Absolutely.
pivot
No, no,
away,
no,
Alex.
and I was just gonna say, and how heartbreaking is that, and to take the perspective for this song of being the person hoping for that,
Mm,
not being the person saying, "Woe is me, I'm in this failing relationship, and this is our only hope," but being the person who still has a little bit of belief that you know this could be worth trying. Um, it's so heartbreaking, but I'm always attracted to when sort of quote unquote sad artists are hopeful or take a positive approach to something. And I think that it accentuates both, that they're a real three-dimensional human who's not like just a bummer all the time, but it also brings out the heartbreak more because this is someone who, even when they are less vocal about it, does have hopes and dreams and beliefs that can still turn into disappointments.
Well, it's funny, like I agree because like yeah, there's a hope here.
Yeah.
This person wants to make this work. But my spidey sense goes off when she starts repeating, I'll be whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, whoa, that's not gonna work. You
We
can't.
can see that it's not going to work.
Right, right.
Right.
So you get like, oh, you want to make this work so bad, but that's the wrong way to go because if you lose yourself, then it's not going to be
Yeah.
honest, and it's not you're losing your integrity, and it's not going to work. It's going to fall apart.
My pivot, which really isn't a pivot, was just larger or holistic comment that listening to the album all the way through to prepare for this is the first time that Halloween became a favorite track on the
Yeah,
album. It had been
mhm.
ICU for a long time, but I was really blown away by it returning to Halloween this time around. It was by the lyricism, but it was also from it had that jam at the beginning. There's this sort of more extended intro,
yep.
reminds me of DVD
Right.
Menu that I found unbelievably impressive, just like compositionally. And there's this motor for the whole song that you can't help but surrender to, even when it is as heartbreaking as it is. Um, I just was so in awe of, again, this is someone, and not to knock this, but this is not just some one acoustic guitarist finger picking in the
No,
background. This
no.
is a really impressive jigsaw puzzle that she's crafted with the new resources she was given. And so to me, this is sort of the epitome of everything the new album turned out to be, everything that turned out right that a fan could have been hoping for.
Yeah, I agree. I love the arrangement on this song for sure. It's always been one of the ones where like because it's such a different kind of take on what Halloween means because
Mm-hmm.
there's a darkness here for sure, but not in like the spooky scary way. It's just but
Mm-hmm.
just like the darkness that is coming out, what's going through it, and also using Connor Oberst this way, like just having him come in as just a little bit in the backup vocals, you know,
Right.
it works so well again, like her bringing in this extra vocals. I also have a really just I don't know if it's a fond memory, but again, this album came out, couldn't go anywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
remember driving around at night because there was no traffic anywhere, which was a surreal experience in Los Angeles. Listening to this song just like in the night and like the whole thing about talking about wearing masks at that point.
Mhm.
Anything, even time you heard of, wearing a mask, it's like it has this other meaning at that point in time in 2020. So I have a lot of fond memories of that. Driving
That was
around.
a smart choice, though. I listened to this album a lot riding my bike around my neighborhood to try to get outside, get some fresh air. And it's a very hilly neighborhood, and there would be something thrilling to let it surrendering to the hill and
Yeah,
flying by. But then this is not the album to like have to get yourself pumped up to get
Yeah.
up a
right
hill
back up.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this is like very much like, well, let's just coast down the highway, let's go
Yeah.
down the PCH a little bit, not the hilly part. But yeah, but like cause as soon as you said like the bicycle part, I'm like, dude, how are you gonna get back up the hill? That's just
Yeah,
not gonna
no.
happen. It's just
It was a
not gonna
mistake.
happen. Yeah, no, yeah.
Glorious mistake. Fantastic mistake.
uh, you know, Phil, you were say whatever you want to me.
Yeah.
You're always
Yeah.
like, Jeff, whatever you want. I want to play
Whatever.
Halloween, even though we played every song so far. But that's okay. Here is Halloween. Next up, we have track 6, known as Chinese Satellite.
Chi-
Um,
Not American, but Chinese.
yeah, very specific in our global
That
geopolitical situation.
I don't think I really realized how geopolitical Phoebe Bridgers really was, but yeah, here we are. Here we are.
Um, I think this is just a simply beautiful song.
Yeah.
It
This was my first favorite. It was
yeah
this in ICU.
yeah. This is just I had to stop what I'm doing when this song is on and just
Mm.
kind of, and you said give yourself into the going down the hill on the bike, but like same thing. This song just takes me, and um I there's so many different interpretations of what it could be about too, which is so interesting. Um, but yeah, what do we think about this one?
Like I said, it was this and ICU were the two stand when I was listening to the album the first time, it was, enjoying the A side and then being completely destroyed by the B side and in the best way possible with between this and uh I mean just this Savior Complex ICU especially. And this is a song that I felt um it was one of the songs I alluded to I could have seen on Alps.
Yeah,
Mm.
Um and again I don't find it repetitive at all, but it was I think it's just like it was a pure Phoebe shot to the heart that I was hoping for as a fan of Alps.
well, I think you're right. I mean, I think the way it just starts off, this like is such a Phoebe Bridgers kind of now that we've we have a collection of songs by her, whether it's her own stuff, Better Oblivion or
Hmm.
Boy Genius. I'm starting to know what like, oh, that's a Phoebe Bridgerism. And this
Yeah,
one for me, it's I've been running around in circles pretending to be myself. Why would somebody do this on purpose
yeah,
when they could do something else? Like, wow. Like to feel to feel that way about being yourself or pretending to be myself,
Mm.
like she has to pretend to be herself. Why would anybody want to be her when they can do something else? Like that's a there's a lot to unpack there about how she's feeling about herself at the start of this.
She,
Drowning out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I feel it's a song. Um, I feel it's a song ultimately about like a lack of faith, believing in things, because she brings up the evangelicals, which I also like the yellow evangelicals. It's a lot of fun. But but like it's also kind of hard when you don't have I don't have a belief system, right? And
Yeah.
I don't have faith to in which to rely, to if you want to go bring in Family Guy, but that I don't do that, right? And when it's fine that you do, that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when I'm told I'm wrong, and I like to bark back and say like, no, no, I think you're wrong. Thanks so much. But don't. Let's just keep it even. There we go. But so she looks like she says, so I wished hard on a Chinese satellite, which I don't want to believe. Instead, I look at the sky and I feel nothing. I hate to be alone, so I want to be wrong. And like I take that as she's looking at I don't know something that we collectively believe was the geopolitical landscape. Maybe like, oh, there's a Chinese satellite. They're watching all of us. I'm like, that's fine. It doesn't matter what you believe in. Is what I think she's getting at. But she doesn't even do that. She can't believe in this thing, and I can relate to that. I can relate to that, but because you want to, but you just can't. You just can't go that one more step and believe it, which is fine if you can. I'm right there with you. I can't either.
And I find what's thrilling about this song's approach to exactly that is when I feel that way, I associate that with almost a malaise, a paralysis, like
Mm-hmm.
what's the point? It's very stolting, but especially when the drums come in this song and the rhythm section gets going, there's such a sense of urgency, I find, that it's the exact opposite. It's not there's no, what's the point? I'm just going to lay in bed. What's there to have faith and to believe in? But here's someone who's that very same um that very same problem is actually really motivating them. There's a hysteria to it.
Ooh,
That's
that's good. I
thrilling
like
and
that.
it's relatable in the way that, you know, it's maybe recognizing the urgency or the necessity of a question that I've had myself, but haven't haven't felt the maybe haven't felt permission to give it sort of that sense of urgency before. And so having someone else sort of scream out, what a problem this is and how it is worthy of urgency and a song was incredibly moving to me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, that's a great way to put it. I mean, I love how you said hysteria. I was like the her desperation for something,
Right, that's
right?
perfect.
Right? Yeah, because like as the song goes on, like this when she sings I Want to Believe in this song,
Hmm.
it's almost like a Broadway moment to me. It just kind
Yeah.
of like because she has such a soft delivery with her voice usually. So when she gets into this like I want to believe, it just feels like it swells, right? It swells. You could feel it coming out of her heart that she wants this so bad. And you get into verse 2 with Phil screaming at the evangelicals and you know, she brings up that this person she's talking to said, "I will never be your vegetable," which is like again such an evocative phrase turn of phrase, but it's like I'm never gonna just once I'm gone, I'm gone. Like if something happens, I'm in a hospital bed, pull the plug. There's nothing after this. But she's saying, but she's like, but I'd stand on the corner, embarrassed with a picket sign, if it meant I would see you when I die. Like she's trying to believe that she will see someone again. Like she wants to have this like security that like this isn't just it. But yeah, she's struggling with it. At least that's what I think it is. And then I also wonder too, is this because she has lost somebody? Because it's like a matter of time from hearing things to where I can feel you through the walls, but it's impossible. Or is it just this feeling of like I want to be connected to everyone forever? I mean, I like that it's not 100% clear
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
on this one because I feel a lot of different feelings and I have my own interpretations of different parts of it. But
There is like an
ultimate, oh, go ahead.
there's like an isolationist feel to the because like she feels detached from
Yeah,
Hmm.
everybody, and I feel like that's another constant theme of hers is this
Definitely.
sense of detachment from others. Not like it's not, and I don't think it's maliciously done. I think it's just a natural reaction, or natural thing for her to do. Is the a sense of detachment from folks.
Yeah, there's no pretension. It's not I'm better than others or
Right.
I antagonize others. It's just this inevitable place she's found herself in.
I also think Phil, you just said the isolation of it is like, I think ultimately it's like she wants to be found, right?
Hmm.
She
Yeah.
wants to be like the song ends with her like we have this imagery of the sky of stars of satellites and then by the end it's a UFO, right? It's I'll see a tractor beam coming to take me away to where I'm from. I want to go home. Like I don't belong here. I need to get there.
Yeah.
Um I will also say we haven't talked much about it, but like the album cover is what I always think about this song. Like
Mm.
this to me is because she's out in that like desert landscape and she's just like well you could if you're on YouTube you can see behind her. Yeah. She's in there skeleton out. She's looking up at the Chinese satellite like she's this lone skeleton girl in the desert, and it's she's trying to, get her bones home, I guess. The just real quick on the album art on the vinyl is absolutely gorgeous. It opens up, it looks like a storybook basically, and there's all these incredible illustrations that go along with each song. And during the tour, that was her stage with those illustrations. And this one did have a UFO as part of it, so yeah, I think of. Um, yeah, I just an absolutely beautiful song, makes me feel so many feelings. And one of those songs where, yeah, even being when you're feeling alone, this is a song to put on and know that,
Mhm.
like, yeah, we're all looking for that tractor beam to bring us in, bring us home. So, without further ado, here's Chinese Satellite. Next track, track 7. We're staying in the sky because we're gonna sing about the moon. We got a moon song here.
Yeah, moon song. Um, I kind of checked out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
Moon song's the one where you kind of you got a little checked out.
Moon song. I was like, didn't we do this one already? Like, it felt like we kind of covered a lot of this stuff earlier. Yeah, but I do appreciate the Tears in Heaven reference. I too would be able to say no. It's really what it's a song. I think it's a song. I think it's a song about doing things for someone else to make them love you
Yeah,
in a sense, and yeah, and it's even if like I don't know, like even to your own detriment, I guess, kind of thing, which is funny because I actually think that theme is a theme that follows into the next song after this, but with Savior Complex.
right.
It's like there's a little thematic moment going through these things, which is kind of like what I was meaning about like side one had one vibe, and then side B, like we're kind of shifting gears and we're kind of doing some kind of different things with it. But yeah, I feel like it's the song we kind of heard some of this stuff before. But what do you think, Jeff? How am I off base? What do you think?
No, it's funny. And Alex, you mentioned earlier like how Halloween hit you so much more. What an amazing song it was. I agree. I think Halloween's the better version of this song. Like,
Yeah, yeah, okay,
the, in a because it has a similar thing where I'll do anything, for this person, and this one is a lot of that. This to me, this is a very more straightforward song where it's like I feel like the narrator or the character or her loves this person, but they are a mess, and
right,
their life's a mess, and like they're there for them, but like this is not a healthy relationship for her. Where in Halloween, it's a little bit more metaphoric, and we're not getting too deep into this, but this one we're getting very specific on details. Um, like you asked to walk me home, but I had to carry you. So immediately I'm like, oh, this person's a drunk mess or whatever. And you push me in, and now my feet can't touch the bottom of you. Like there's just this like feeling like they can't quite get there. Or I'll wait for the next time you want me, like a dog with a bird at your door. Like very aware that, oh, I'm not in power in this situation. Like I'm at the mercy of this person when they want me.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you guys. I think that this song has sort of an unfortunate sandwiching
Yeah,
between Chinese
yeah,
Satellite and Savior Complex, where it's sort of like if I had to run off to pee during the listening to this album, it would probably be now. And I don't think that does this song justice because I think it
right.
plays a really important role in the album as a whole too, because Phil, your points on sort of side A versus side B, I think are so astute. And I think as side B progresses, so many of the songs in side A, we felt there's still some hope, there's some belief, there's sort of a bittersweetness. And side B, I find becomes and increasingly sort of cutting, critical, um, more openly angry, maybe. And it climaxes in the final track, especially when you see it live and she's smashing her guitar. And
Yeah.
I think this song's a really important hinge point. And some of the lines, like the Tears in Heaven song, is one of the my favorite lines in the entire album. And that is a cutting line.
Oh yeah.
hmm oh yeah,
And it's something that you wouldn't have found on Garden Song or Kyoto. And I think it's really pushing the audience further on the path of now the next song from the title onwards is going to be hypercritical.
Yeah.
So it's an important utilitarian role if it doesn't stand out, as much as some of the other tracks do necessarily as its own song. I really think that it is an important hinge.
I think that's a great point. Yeah. It has its purpose for sure in that sense. I just also want to unpack like we're all gonna talk about this Tears of Heaven line because it's the line, right? Like
It's
It's
the
the
line,
line.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
because it's like you get an idea of this relationship they have so much.
Hmm.
Like we hate Tears in Heaven, but it's sad that his baby died. Like we hate Eric Clapton, but he did go through some shit, right? Like well, Eric Clapton very much has come out as a very uber conservative
Hmm.
figure in his old age, I guess. And we thought about John Lennon until I cried. Like this clearly what this relationship is. It's like they have these very passionate views on music that's kind of connecting together. Um, and yeah, I mean, again, knowing how autobiographical it is, I don't know who the song is actually about. There are theories online, but we don't have to get into that. Um, but like, but when it comes down to it in the bridge, is I could give you the moon, I would give you the moon. Like that's how much I want this, And then it goes into the last chorus is you are sick, you're married, and you might be dying. Like this is she knows this is a failed attempt here. This is her heart's in the wrong place for this person, but you're holding me like water in your hands. So it's like even though like I can't really have this person or connect to this person the way I want, but they turn around and they hold me so gently. And like so you could see the struggle that this character is going through. Um but yeah, I agree. That all I have to say is I agree with Alex. Like I think it's a really great song, and I think you're right. It's the Chinese satellite savior complex
It's a tough,
sequencing.
tough
That's
spot to be
yeah.
in. That's
It's
a tough spot.
You had to pick
Well,
something somewhere, but yeah, no, it
yeah.
definitely yeah, I got sandwiched in between two stronger songs.
Well, no problem for us because we're gonna go to the next part of that sandwich, and we're gonna look at Savior Complex, which is track 8.
Jeff, do you think you have a savior complex?
Only when it comes to you, Phil.
Ah, well, thanks. Thanks for saving me all these times. Appreciate that.
Well, I'll tell you this though. Here's a little
Yeah.
tidbit. If I ever wrote a comic book for DC Comics and there's a story called Savior Complex in the comic book, you can know that I might have lifted that title from this song if that ever happened. I don't know.
If that ever happened, possibly who knows? Who knows if that ever happened? That's where you got the title from. That's hilarious.
Well, it fit the story too, but
Yeah, no, it fits the story too. No, that's really good.
no,
That's really good.
a lot of my writing is just little references that little Easter eggs for me only that I know about that
Yeah.
no one else will know about. But now you can know that one. But yeah,
All right.
Savior Complex.
What's a what is it? What is a savior complex, Jeff? Do you
Well, I think it's usually when someone feels like they have to save people, like they have to like they had this like martyrness to them that they like I have to fix this, I have to do
And
this.
not necessarily for the other people's sake, for
Right,
their
for their
right?
own
yeah.
yeah, to make
Yeah,
themselves feel better.
it's a good use the word martyrdom in there, and that's good because that's that. Yeah, that they're the point they need to save everybody. It's almost to their own detriment that they do that. That they have to save everybody. And I'm assuming that's what she's talking about. That she herself has a savior complex.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's easier. You don't got to think or feel or do anything about your own shit if you just focus on everybody else's stuff and just go
Hmm.
fix
yep,
them. You know what I mean? Then I'll just, maybe I'll find solace in that. That I'm like, you know what? If I fix everybody else but me, maybe I'll find peace in that. And I feel like that's always that. Well, that's like now I'm going on my own little side quest, but that's when I hear people about like that thing where like, well, if I just do this one more thing, I'll be happy. Or if I go climb this mountain, one more mountain, I'll be happy. Or like it's always like kicking the can down the street a little bit. And here's like if I just save one more person, maybe I'll be happy at that point. I'm gonna let you in on a secret. You won't.
yeah. Uh, I like this song a lot. I think it's you know we're coming back to some other ones. There's a very like it's a very understandable situation to be in.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
it's very universal. Like you're all the skeletons you hide, show me yours and I'll show you mine. Like just really calling this person out, being like, yo, enough with this pissing contest. and all the bad dreams that you hide. Show me it. Like, be vulnerable with me. Like, yes, I want to save you, which is my own to avoid my own things, but you gotta work with me here.
And I think I love that it's this blunt. And from the
Yeah.
title on downwards, I think this is a song that announces its intentions in a way that a lot of the other songs can be more cryptic or just more ambiguous. And this is a song that I almost go back to Funeral
Mm-hmm.
to think about. Like, this is a song that just fully announces itself and is very bare from the title on down about exactly what it's going to be, and it's what you'd expect, and it is unabashed about, you know, a pretty straight down the line message. This is the issue. This is what I'm calling out. Here you go.
She does very well with titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
I'm
does.
a big fan of titles being meaningful, and I feel like every title has meaning to it. It's not the typical emo stuff. I don't even know what I can go with. I usually go something really simple with like or ridiculous with cheese involved. Like I ate cheese on Saturday because sunshine said so, or some such nonsense. I don't know, but it just it fits. It's a
Yeah.
good title. It really fits the song. Yeah, I love the unabashedness of it. That she's like, look, man, like in or out. Like, let's go. Either give me everything or give me nothing. Like, let's go. Let's do this. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the candor that she wants to be that honest and that direct about it. But she also needs to remember to go work on herself
Right.
or the character. Go work on yourself. I won't say Phoebe specifically.
And
It's kind of it's unabashed. I've got a problem and you've got a problem.
yeah,
And these are both really big problems.
but we
Collective.
recognize it.
We could have one big problem. We go collective. Let's do that.
Yeah. Baby, you're a vampire. You want blood, and I promised. I'm a bad liar. All right. I love that song. But we are going to move on to the next one, which is called I See You. That's the letter I, the letter C, letter U. Though, Phil, did you know that in 2020, they changed it on Spotify to ISEEYOU because there were a lot of people in the ICU with COVID at the time. It reminded me of the Bleed American Jimmy Eat World scenario in 2001,
Yeah.
where that album came out called Bleed American, and then a month later, 9/11 happened. So that for a while, it was just self-titled Jimmy Eat World, but then Bleed
Jim,
American came back.
smart move. Smart move.
Yeah, yeah,
Good eye. Good job. Let's do that. That's a great idea. Let's not minimalize or the folks who died. Let's not do that. That's not a good idea. But it's funny though because that kind of plays into like one of the parts of the song, right? I mean,
yeah.
it's yeah. So I kind of because it's like about his. I know it's about because I did some looking into it. It's about her Marshall, who is like the drummer
The
on
drummer, yeah,
the drummer, and he writes something. But it's also like part of it's like about his mom, right? A
yep,
little bit, and I was like, "Oh, I'm here for this. Let's start yelling at people." Yeah, this is where the geopoliticalness actually really comes out for Phoebe Bridgers. Yeah, um, yeah. She's like, I hate your mom. I hate it when she opens her mouth. Talk about just honest and unabashed. I hate your mom when she opens her mouth. It's amazing to me how much you could say when you don't know what you're talking about. It's just, oh my God, that's so great. That's so great. Yeah, love it.
yeah,
It is. And here was someone who, for so many tracks, was so confused and more self-loathing and is just getting fully pissed off and unafraid to speak now. And, it's inspiring. I don't know if it should be. I don't know if it should be, but we can all relate, and it is inspiring.
Well, Alex, you said earlier on the second half of the album how she's starting to like turn and judge people.
Yeah.
Like, she's judging her partner in savior complex, being like, "Yo, you need to be saved. Show me your skeletons. I'll show you mine." Moon Song, she's like, this guy is a
Hmm.
mess and sucks. What am I doing?" Now she's like, what I think is this song, from what I understand, is like she once dated her drummer,
Yeah.
and now they're friends, but like they're very close, and like, yeah, coming down to it, like, yo, your mom sucks. She's
You want,
conservative or whatever it is.
yeah.
And
And also, even separate from the drummer relationship, her whole worldview. This is Somebody Better Have Died, right? With the sirens. Is that this
oh,
this track?
that's Halloween.
Okay, well, I think it's the point stands that I don't think it's even necessarily just her relationship to the drummer. It's that her whole worldview was changing. And here is someone who's becoming not no less self-aware, I think, but um I think is willing to call other people out more, both individuals, like the drummer's mom, and then also humanity and
Yeah,
society as a whole.
which we're building towards
Oh yeah.
in a big way. Yeah, I think well the line from this one is I've been playing dead my whole life.
Mm,
Like that to me is like a moment where like maybe she couldn't maybe like she knows this mom character from when she did date this person,
uh-huh.
but now she can finally say it like
Yeah.
I hate your mom. Like maybe she couldn't have said that then because she was a people pleaser character because
Hmm.
we've seen that before. Like I'll be anything you want.
Yeah.
Now it's like no, this isn't working for me.
And then the question becomes, is this healthier?
Right.
Is it healthier? She's not being a people pleaser. And so that's growth. That's development. This is a positive thing. Is the other side of the coin being more hateful, or is it just calling people out honestly who deserve to be called out?
Well, I think she's still trying to figure it out because in this one,
Yeah.
in our bridge where she gives us the truth, I guess, she says, I used to light you up. He used to like be very excited about seeing her or whatever. Now I can't even get you to play the drums. Like you're off doing whatever. I'm like, hey, we need to work on this, and who knows what you're doing. Because I don't know what I want until I fuck it up. I think that is
Yeah.
the truest thing there. She's admitting here that she has to do the wrong thing to
Hmm.
figure out what the right thing is. And I'm sure that's true for all sorts of
Oh
things in
yeah.
her life, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
or the character's life. We don't, you know, Phoebe might be just absolutely psychologically sound and not worried about anything, but we don't know.
Well, she's worried about telling her mom to shut the fuck up for once. Just like, how about you're up here? I need you down here. How about that? Like, we just get you to come down a little bit. Why do you think it's called ICU though?
Well, I think for me it comes back to the ending of the song because she says like she's kind of realizing this about herself and like she doesn't really know how to move forward and she's kind of like on life support in a lot of ways
Right.
Hmm.
Hmm.
because you know it's not just her but the world around her and this character's mom is a voice of that world because she ends with saying like right now it feels good not to stand then I'll leave it wide open the window let the dystopian morning light pour in.
Yeah.
She's not feeling too good about the world.
No.
Right. And that's why I think it's both names that the track
Yeah.
has been named. It is the crisis state that she finds herself in, and it's also, I think, a state of her feeling clarity about seeing other people for who they are and seeing society for who it is.
It's funny how yeah, we talked about it a bunch of times, and I'm looking back like side A, very dreamy. Side B, much more grounded. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's much more about like I don't know. She's like on the attack, which I'm
Yeah.
okay with. I'm okay with.
I think she's woke up in the second half. I think she's
Right.
seeing
Yeah.
things that they actually are, um, which is interesting because this one, it's kind of her view of the world is coming out, and her paralysis or feeling like she's in the on the ICU bed as she looks at what the world has become. And then we're going to go into this next song, which is looking at somebody who's had struggles, but kind of in a um not in a negative way, but like really being proud of this person,
Hmm.
which is an interesting change that we're about to go into. So, should we just go into Graceland 2?
Sure.
Uh, yeah,
Here we go.
Graceland 2 is your penultimate song, Phil.
Thank you.
Not only is it the penultimate song, you know, before this past year when Boy Genius put out their record, everyone was like, "This is the track," because this is where the Boy Genius gals show up, and we get Lucy Dacus and Julian Baker. Also, Phil, I'd like to point out this is just something that crossed my mind recently. You know, he said like I mentioned Taylor Swift too much. I believe this season Julian Baker has taken the crown for the amount of times that we are mentioning her.
She has popped up a bunch of times where you're like, oh, it's Julian Bacon once again.
Not
Yeah,
enough time. Still not enough.
Still not enough. No,
Can't
no.
speak of her enough.
No, Julian Baker is now the new I don't even know what would call it. What would we call it, Phil? Our new our
Theme?
new our new theme. The new theme of
Our
this
new theme?
podcast is Julian Baker.
As
Yeah.
all, it should be the theme of all podcasts.
Right.
I,
Absolutely.
yes,
To be a fly on the wall of Phoebe talking with Julian before or during making Punisher about the production of the album,
Yeah.
I would give truly anything. All the things that I fall in love with, the textures that Phoebe plays with, the space that she uses, everything that's made this feel so much bigger and more complicated than Alps. I can't not wonder if Julian threw out any tips.
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. This song to me is, again, I think we get a banjo. So the sound, so much like on Kyoto, where the sound kind of got a little lighter and this one's got
Mhm.
pluckier, there's like this like kind of like country kind of like vibe to it in the beginning. And then it's like this very sweet song of just like talking about this person that's just like what I think is no longer a danger to herself or others. She made up her mind and laced up her shoes, yelled down the hall, but nobody answered. She walked outside without an excuse. This is like somebody who's clearly went through some struggles, I think maybe some drug addiction kind of thing, and like they're getting better. And they're
right.
like seizing their life. And that energy just really comes through it. And she's like, she can do anything she wants to. She can do whatever she wants to. She could go home, but she's not going to.
Mm.
Like this is a very hopeful song, probably the most hopeful song on the album.
Mhm. And it comes during an otherwise very, very much not hopeful period in the album. And I think that the song just plays with expectations in so many ways.
Yeah,
It plays with it musically. I would not have previously expected a banjo on a Phoebe Bridgers track, and that was wrong of me. And I'm delighted that there is one. And it's plays with my expectations about the attitude of a song that I expected at this point of the album. And it plays with, I think, just I would not have expected Phoebe to be related in any way to the entire Graceland scene,
right.
knowing everything about her is, West Coast, sort of this Bright Eyes fan makes it big. And I think that literally down to the title is a reminder, like, no, Graceland too. Like I can, don't put me in a box. I can be anywhere. I can do any kind of music. Um, and I just found that uh surprising, exciting. It put me in my place in a way that I really enjoyed and found um thrilling. And I think the song goes ahead to do it too.
Yeah. Uh, Phil, do you know why it's called Graceland 2? Another side of that?
It's a reference to the other Graceland. There's two Gracelands. There's
Yeah,
Graceland 2,
I
1 and
did
2. Yeah.
not realize that. So the
Yeah.
original Graceland is where he actually like lived and everything. And then they
Right.
built the Graceland that people go to visit
Yes.
is Graceland 2, the number 2. So
Right.
it's got a double play on words there too, which is interesting because like you can start unpacking that where it's like, well,
Mhm.
Graceland 2 isn't really the real Graceland.
No, it's like a carbon copy of it, but like that's where you can go to pray to the shrine that is Elvis. But yeah, it's funny with this song. I feel it's like this is a very purposeful song
Yep.
for a couple of reasons. Like one, there's a lot of the story there where she says like I would do anything you want me to. Again, it's a lot of that has come back in. That's a theme that kind of has come up a lot about being somebody, being something maybe you're not to for the betterment
Mm.
of somebody else. I mean, that is a theme that kind of has popped up a couple times. So I think like lyrically, it's the connective tissue is there, but it's got a kind of this a little more of a boppier, upbeat kind of song, and I think that is also purposeful because we're setting up the next song, right? This is like if we're gonna go with a baseball reference. We had a couple bit, Dodger game before. This is like the setup man
Mm.
coming in the eighth inning,
Mm-hmm.
getting ready for the ninth inning with the closer. And that's all this is. And I that's ultimately I think she's setting up what's going to happen in the next song in a good way, like not to take away from it in a good way, to keeping the themes going, throughout.
Yeah. Totally for that too. And then also just here kind of going back to what Alex said, kind of like flexing the music muscle of being like predictably she turns up the music so thoughts don't intrude. Like that idea of like, oh, I'm not thinking about anything, I'm just listening to music. Particularly winds up thinking about Elvis and wonders if he believed songs could come true. Like, how much did Elvis believe in this? Because again, going back to Graceland too, it's all for show. Did he ever believe in the music that he was stealing at the time from other
Right.
people? We know
Right.
that. Not like, you know what I mean. Um, and then of course she also steals a line of herself, where she throws in a rebel without a clue, which is from the Replacements,
Right.
which is
I
her homage slash like, hey, I can do that too.
Yeah,
and
I can do that.
it's a setup going into the final track of maybe I have found my people and
Hmm.
Lucy and Julian, and it's maybe I found my voice or my power. And what does that mean after and now maybe I finally found someone to believe in too. And so
Yeah,
what is that going to look like for me going into the final track? And it's kind of a cliffhanger song.
it is. Yeah. Um, so why don't we play into that cliffhanger and play Graceland 2 and get us ready to see how we're gonna end this album. All right, we've reached the end. You know how I know we've reached the end?
How do you know we reached the end?
Because the song is called I Know the End.
Oh, all right, okay. So good. Well, good. One of us paying attention.
Aptly named.
Aptly named. I know the end.
Uh yeah, so I this song is wow, there's a lot of things going on with this song. But first of all, I think what's really cool is for being an apocalyptical folk ballad song. What it first is a tour song, right? It's
Right.
we've come across this a lot. This is a common thing that breaks into these albums or songs these bands and artists sing about life on tour, because so much of their life is on tour. And for what Phoebe's doing here, what she's noticing on tour is she's getting a good look at maybe a society that she doesn't agree with and doesn't feel comfortable in, and we're gonna kind of lead that down the line and see where this takes us into some dark places.
I don't like that part of Texas either. See how that happens.
But it's funny, it's also the person she's become on the tour. Maybe it's someone who's more willing to call out what she doesn't like than
Yeah.
someone who is willing to give them whatever they want.
I also like how she invokes a little Wizard of Oz imagery here, right? Like this idea of like she romances a quiet life. There's no place like my room. She wants to
Mhm.
click her heels. She wants to go home, right? She's at that point. But as the song moves on, um, she starts realizing her purpose, I guess, a little bit more,
Yeah.
and she can't just go home. Like now, she's got to go out there and she's got to say the quiet part out loud, right?
Hmm.
She's
Right.
not going to go down with a hometown in my hometown in a tornado. Like I'm going to chase it. I know. I'm going to keep going, and I'm not going to let any of this stuff stop me.
It's hard to analyze it as one song because I almost view it as two.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right. Because that part where it starts with the driving out and into the sun section, that I feel like that's like the second half of the song. Like it's two parts.
Yeah.
Um, because that's the part where she's like, "That's it. You know what?" Throws down her writing book or something. Who knows? And then I literally did it too. I had my pen in my hand, folks at home, and I slammed it on the table because I was like, "That's it. The gloves are off. I'm now saying the quiet part out loud," like Jeff said. And it just like driving down at the where she gets so windows down, scream along this American first rap country song. That's hilarious. But then starts at like I don't know, like describing what she sees America being. Like it's a slaughterhouse, an outlet mall, slot machines, fear of God, windows down, heater on, big bolts of lightning. Over the coast, everyone's convinced it's a government drone or alien spaceship or a Chinese satellite. Just saying. But either way, we're not alone. Like you're gonna find though. Even she'll take the like even the people believing in it's either a drone or a government. Well, they have their people too. I mean, it's kind of like it's this weird thing. Like you're going to find people out there who agree with what you say, which is funny that she's doing. I think she's doing that because like even if you don't agree with me, and there's people out there who might agree with you, I don't, and she's going to rat them off a little more. You know,
well, yeah. I mean, well, she's also using it to seize who she is, right? She's like,
Hmm.
right?
she says all this, like I see this and this. Well, you know what? I'm gonna choose who I'm gonna be.
Right.
I'm gonna find a new place to be from, a haunted house with a picket fence. So again, we're juxtaposing two different things. That the classic American dream having the picket fence,
Right.
but mine's a haunted house. It's full of ghosts. And guess what? I'm gonna float around. I'm gonna ghost my friends. Which is
Right.
both haunt my friends and also ghost my friends and just not, drop them like if I have to, right? I'm not afraid to disappear, even though the billboard said the end is near. You know,
Yeah.
I'm turned around, there was nothing there. So like she's not afraid of all this stuff. She's like, I'm gonna be me and 100% who I am
And
and
what
take
an
all this.
amazing thing to watch this discovery in real time.
Yes.
Because that's not how the song starts out. She's
No.
not like ready to smash the guitar when she starts.
Right.
It's a decision that we watch. It's a transition that we watch the entire way through. And I mean, what's more thrilling than that?
Yeah.
Well,
It's
even
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Jeff.
No, no, you
Just
go.
I like the yeah, I guess the end is here. She says it a couple of times, and then yeah, I guess the end is, and then it just goes into this the like the destruction happens, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I was like, it sounds very well, destructive. That was good job, Phil, doing an adjective, but it sounded like very destructive in the listening to it. What do
And
you say,
it's
Jeff?
it's amazing. I can't think of a better compliment to give than every time I start the song, I'm not completely certain it's going to go there.
Right.
It's almost like, well, maybe she won't this time. Maybe she'll make a different decision, and then I'm always a little surprised, even though I know that it's coming.
Well, things have changed for her. She's gone out there and I got mean. I'm always
Mhm.
pushing you away from me, but you come back with gravity. And when I call, you come home and burn your teeth. Now it's when I call, you come home with a bird in the teeth. Earlier,
Mhm.
she was the dog with the bird in her teeth, right? She's changing. She's like got she's activated here, and she's ready to take on this fucked up world.
Yeah, and absolutely shred with an entire band.
Yeah,
This is not someone on a stool in the back of the coffee shop.
no, you're right. So yeah, we come fully from singer songwriter with my little guitar to band is having a total like ferocious breakdown at the
Mhm.
end, and she's smashing the guitar and she's screaming. She builds herself to that
Mhm.
rage.
This is the song I've been waiting for this whole album. It's really funny to think about that, but the anger comes out wholeheartedly, and I'm like, I have been waiting 36 minutes to hear this song. Thank you for finally showing up. I appreciate that. Kick-ass song. It's a kick-ass song. And
Well, it's a
it's
kick.
like, and I'm going to say it again. It continues on the Bret Easton Ellis of it all, because there's even, I think if you go to Less Than Zero, it's Disappear Here.
Yeah,
That's what the billboard was in that one. But then even the fact that like the song just kind of like lyrically just ends, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
As like such an Easton Ellis thing to do, a la Rules of Attraction. Sorry. Okay, as you were.
yeah. No, 100% on the Bryce Ellis part of this. Phil's clearly been reading a lot of Bryce Ellis before this
You
podcast.
know,
It's
I honestly, I every now and again, every few years, I go back and I run through the first four books because that's where I'm at in life, I guess, which is weird. It's weird.
Is that American Psycho?
Yep.
That is American
You
Psycho,
doing
yeah.
sports next? You
Uh,
doing Huey Lewis next episode?
it's a culmination of this work. Oh God, that whole bit's hilarious. All of it is amazing, and they do a good job with those sequences in the movie as well. Just saying.
Do you think this song is also her kind of claiming what her purpose is? You know,
So that's a really good question because I feel like this whole I was very being kind of very tongue in cheek when I was saying I've been waiting this whole album for this song to appear because of how angry it is or all that. It's I actually mean that in a couple different ways because I feel like the first half of the album very dreamy, figuring kind of just la-di-da-ness, right? It's the way a lot of this way she sings is very soft,
yeah,
right? It's very soft in the front half. Even the tone sometimes it's kind of soft, right? And then the second half starts and it's builds. Every song gets slightly more aggressive, either lyrically or by like sound wise. It just kind of builds to this. Which is why I was saying this. So I do feel like this is an album where we're going like we've gone through a story, which is hence why I think there's a DVD menu in the front because she's telling us it's a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I feel like this is her kind of owning and coming in to being who she is and owning that. You know?
No, I do, because now you
Okay.
said that DVD menu, we hit play. First it's childhood, and oh my God, I'm growing up. And then it's, oh, I've had to deal with this dad issue my whole life. And then it's, it's like we're seeing these things that she's been dealing with. And then we get to Punisher, and it's like we start off in like, I'm a fan of this person. This person inspired me. And now we get to I know the end, and she has this actualization, and she's breaking the guitar because she's like, I'm not this person anymore. I now see who I have to be going forward in the
Yeah.
face of the world that I am singing towards or singing about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think that it is completely heroic though? This could be me searching for something that isn't there
Mm-hmm.
because I just view her as so thoughtful and cerebral, and maybe it's hard for me to believe that she, and this is maybe projecting, maybe it's hard for me to believe that she could come to a decision or a view of herself that is completely solid without any reservations or without any, not self-awareness, but I'm left with the question at the end of the album: is she better off than when she started? Right?
Right.
Like, is this version, is anger better than sadness? Is this better, or is it just another, is this a different sickness? Right? Is this a different way of coping? And I don't know that that's there, but it's hard for me not to look and wonder.
Well, I really love that, Alex, because now it makes me even more so like Chinese Satellite is even more important where it's placed, because that's where she's like, I want to believe, someone tell me what
Right.
I need to feel.
So maybe this
And
is what she can believe in. Right.
right now this is it. Yeah. And I don't feel like she's reached the end of her journey in any way. I just think that
Right.
she's now, whether it's the right choice or not, this is where she is now.
Right.
And we're gonna pick up whenever she does her next album, see where she's at,
Right.
from there.
Cheekily, I think deep down she's just mad. She's realized she's about to be punished.
Maybe.
I'm sure she's punished a ton.
Yeah, I bet.
I will
bet.
say, I remember when she was on SNL 2021,
Mhm.
she played this as the
What a
second
moment.
song. It was incredible. Check it out on YouTube. It's an
Yeah.
amazing performance. And she starts smashing guitar, and she got hit with so much like sexist bullshit of like these like Gen X people being like, who's this person? Who's this woman smashing guitar on my TV? Like what? Like what? Like you've never seen a rocker smash their guitar before? There was so much criticism sent at her way, and it was just like, what are you people talking about? Like, feel the emotion of this song. There's a reason why she's smashing her guitar at the end. Actually, listen to the music. Anyway, it's a great performance. You should check it out on YouTube. But until then, we should listen to I Know the End, final song on Punisher. We did it. We went through Phoebe Bridger's entire album, Punisher. I continue to love this album more and more every time I hear it, which is a lot. And in fact, when we started this podcast, we did a deserted island list of like 10 albums we bring with us, and this was on my list.
Oh,
it was.
It was the most modern album on my list, so already a classic in my mind.
makes me so happy. It would definitely be on mine too.
I just get something else from it every time, and I love that. Phil, do you have any questions for us regarding this album?
I do actually. I'm filled with them. All right, Jeff, let me ask you the question of what do you think is the best song on the album?
Chinese Satellite.
That was very declarative, by the way.
Yeah.
Alex, what about you? What do you think is the best song on the album?
Oh, best or favorite is tough. I don't know that I can argue that Chinese Satellite is the best, but Halloween is my favorite right now.
So you're gonna go with Halloween?
Yeah, I'll be different. I'll go Halloween.
No, you're not gonna be different because I too think it's Halloween. That is the best song.
There
That
we
is the
go.
best song on the album. It's a great song. It's like, I think it's like you don't even realize how good a song it is until you're like thinking about it, like that's a really good song.
Yeah.
I just yeah. All right, Jeff, let's go the opposite end of the spectrum. What is a song you are going to skip?
I am going to skip Moon Song.
Moon song. Okay.
Even
Alex,
though even though when I hear it in person and she says you hold me like water in your hands, I somehow do that in this crowd, like I hold my hands up like that. Yeah, so I'm moved. I still love it, but I will skip it just for this exercise.
I'm not gonna lie, Jeff. This is very Punisher-y. if you're gonna be doing this, trying to like catch the
Yeah.
drip up. Yeah.
Maybe Punisher should be the song I skip because I don't want to see myself in it.
Alex, what about you? What is the song?
It's Moon Song, yeah.
Yeah, all right, that's trifecta. All three of us gonna do Moon Song. Yeah, it's done better elsewhere, and that's just it. It's also right. This is the one that's unfortunate with the sequencing. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
also unfortunate with the sequencing. Maybe earlier, maybe better, maybe gone better, but yeah, it's Moon Song. It's Moon Song. All right, Jeff, what is the sleeper track? You can also say maybe your favorite. The sleeper track of the album.
I think it's Graceland too. I mean, I know in this day and age, Boy Genius is probably bigger as a group than the three of them are individually, but uh, it's a very necessary song and a song that's very gloomy that to have this very positive song and also a song about finding your people, and
Hmm.
I really love it. I think
Alex,
everyone else should too.
I was also gonna say Graceland too,
well,
so
there
that's
you
no
go.
fun. I will say DVD menu, don't skip it.
Yeah,
Do
no,
not
you need
skip
it.
it.
Don't
Yeah,
skip DVD menu. It actually
yeah.
sets the tone. Yeah, that's why I think it's a sleeper. No, just kidding. I think the sleeper. I actually think that I know the end is the sleeper of it because it's such a meaningful song that I don't know. You kind of don't think about it maybe too much, but I'm also new to Phoebe Bridgers, and like you guys are super fans. You guys be like, oh, Phil. Obviously, everybody knows that's a
No,
great
it's
song,
true
but
though. I don't typically like if I've got 3 minutes, I don't usually like fire up this is the end.
yeah,
It's usually like I'm listening to the whole album. So I think that's a great pick.
I also feel like this is an album you can't just like throw like pick one song and go
It's
like you
not a
kind of
casual, it's a hard casual
no,
No,
listen.
you
Yeah.
gotta yeah, it's definitely one of those like you know what I you know what I feel like sitting around and being gloomy for 42 minutes.
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna throw this on real quick. That's what I'm gonna do. No, those are good picks. Good picks. I think um yeah, it's mostly the second side is just represented. There you go. There you go. All right, folks at home. If you're watching us on YouTube, once again, I wave hello. Hello, people on YouTube. Also, if you're listening to us on the Spotify, hi. That's me saying hi audibly because you can't see me wave. We also
you also didn't wave when you said that.
I know, 'cause maybe I'm a little mad at Spotify. Maybe it might not be a secret. So I'll wait now. I'm waving. Hi, people on Spotify. You know, if I'm actually waving with my hand instead of just saying it. So folks, oh, side quest went weird real quick. Folks, know we do have a bunch of social media. We have TikTok, we have Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. We again, like I said, we're on the platforms of YouTube. So if you're on us, following us on YouTube, remember hit like and subscribe so that way you get notified whenever we drop new things, which is pretty routine. If you're on Spotify, make sure you follow us so you can hear whenever the episode drops. And if you happen to appreciate any of the logos we have or any of the fine graphics we do, all that, you can thank my wife. That's the executive producer, Megan. She is the creator of all of the images and graphics you will see on our shop, which is on TeePublic. Remember to search Millennial Diner Podcast and TeePublic. You'll find all of our stuff. Also, once again, I'm going to shout out to her store. She also has a store in Etsy. If you do Still Turning Out Studios and search that, you will find her shop on Etsy.
Well, excellent. Alex, thank you so much for coming to the diner. I hope you enjoyed the meal.
Oh, it's delicious. They
Good.
burnt those home fries. They
Good.
burnt them.
Oh, good.
I
I was
mean,
gonna.
Yeah,
they did burn down half the diner to do it, but don't worry, they rebuild fast here.
worth
That's
it.
what we've learned. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for doing this. And Phil,
Yeah.
just remember, said it earlier, I'll say it again. You're not angry, that's just your face.